Welcome in, episode 24. Man, we are flying by, almost to the end of February now. In this episode, you'll see we talk a lot about skiing, and it's weird to realize that winter is almost over. I mean, maybe not almost over, but another month or so will be creeping towards the end of March and into April. Just amazing, the whirlwind kind of spin around the calendar here, and as fast as we come into the holidays, it spits us out, and it'll be spring before we know it. But excited for this episode because finally got a little skiing in. It has been a rough year in Colorado, out west in general. In Europe, as you'll hear, it's been rough too. It's just been a down snow year. So a little bit of depression going on in the ski industry, and for those of us that like to get out and ride. But last week, timed it well, was in Utah with Mr. Aaron Bible, our guest today, and got treated to some powder. Had 6 inches one day, little less the next, and just a lot of fun riding again. And the night before the powder came, Aaron and I got the chance to sit down and have this conversation, which has been a long time coming. We've been connected for, many years now, going back in the travel writing industry and the outdoor industry. And I've always had a great admiration for him as just sort of the generation above me, a guy with a lot of experience who remembers the days of big magazine features back in the 90s and is someone who has really adapted well to the modern industry. You don't see too many outdoor or travel journalists span across this many decades like Aaron has. So a lot of respect for him there, and he's still doing it. He just got back from a ski trip to Europe. He was obviously in Utah with me. Recently spent time down in the South, living in Atlanta for a couple months. So a lot to get into. I hope you guys enjoy the conversation. I hope you guys are well wherever you are. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Wake and Wander podcast. I thought about you the other day, actually. I was on a flight, and they did a credit card spiel.
Yeah.
Where they were going on and on about it, and that was just like an hour after takeoff, and then halfway through the flight, they did it again. So there must have been like some huge push for, because the employees get a bonus, I think, if they sign you up, the flight crew or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then I remembered you were the one that sent me, I would have texted you, but I was in flight, and you were the one that sent me the article about how airlines make more money off credit cards than they do actually flights.
That's so crazy.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
Like, it's just hard to believe we live in that kind of world. Maybe not, but yeah, the banking of it is just crazy.
And like everybody's a bank now. It pays to be a bank.
Exactly. I was actually looking it up after that flight because I was reminded that you sent me something on it. And the airlines sell the points to the bank, and so they make revenue that way. And then the bank, when you spend money on your card, they give you these points that they've gotten from the airline.
Okay.
And then the airlines also make money. They get part of the annual fee, and they also get some reoccurring kickback from the interest and how much people spend on the cards.
So it's massive.
It's crazy.
Which also explains why they're doing the ads,
But there's nothing more irritating
than
you're sitting there and being a captive audience, and they're just trying to sell you the stupid credit card.
It's so annoying. I'm like, don't you have more important things to do? Like, that couldn't be your job.
Like, I don't have my gin and tonic yet. Like, seriously. Never do the credit card spiel before the drink cart comes down. That said, I've been an American Airlines credit card holder for a long time, and it can really help the consumer get free flights and stuff.
I mean, that's why people do it, because like everyone wants to at least feel like they're getting a deal. I mean, we have 2 different United cards that we use, But I do also refuse to play like a credit card points game. Like, I just feel like my time is too valuable. It just won't succumb to it. I don't care how much deal it is, But I also travel for a living, so I don't like. If I was a normal consumer, maybe I would be more motivated,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the trick of it is if you already have the airline credit card, you can't get the latest and greatest offer. So, for example, I already have the American Airlines credit card. They were doing the spiel, and they're like, it's the highest point total you can get, 80,000 miles on your first purchase, which is pretty good.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a couple of flights.
You could go round trip to Hawaii twice for that, for example.
Yeah.
But I already have the card.
Yeah.
So if I sign up for that, they're not going to give me the points, which is annoying because I think I got 60 or something when I signed up years ago.
Mm-hmm. But I also mean, like, I know people who put, like, their entire business goes on to like a Hyatt points credit card, $200,000 a year or whatever they're spending. They pay their employees on it and like just play the game, and I just like, I'm not greedy enough. I'm not like, I just don't care enough to play that game. Like,
fair enough. That's how most people earn status now.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. They changed that a couple
That's
years
why
ago.
the lounges are always full.
Exactly.
And these people, like, you can look at these people in line and you're like, they're not a status traveler. Like,
well, they just don't fly as much. Like, you would think, the executive platinum, they fly all the time, but that might not be the case. They might just own a big company, like you're saying. All the company expenses get put on the card, and they changed that in the last, I think, 5 years, where now you don't have to fly. They always had the credit card spending portion, but now it's just, like American, for example, is just all loyalty points, and you can get them by spending $1 on your credit card.
Right.
So you don't even have to fly.
Right.
Ever.
They're just transferring balances and shit and playing the game. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I was asking you, like, when the first flight you remember is, because you're a little bit older than I am. So I'm curious, like, do you remember this commercialization game going back into the 80s and 90s?
I don't necessarily remember it specifically, but I do think it's been going on for quite a while. I feel like credit card spiels have always been a part of flights. Now, I didn't start traveling professionally until, like, my first press trip was in, like, 95.
Oh,
so that was a while ago.
Those were the glory days.
I've definitely been traveling, like, before 9/11.
Yeah. So no security before that.
No security. Like, I mean, we used to leave our house and, like, you could be at your flight, like, 45 minutes early. Like, it was just so fun and easy back then. Like, travel was the glory days. Like, you were always getting bumped up. They were running twice as many flights. Like, after the airlines went bankrupt, we were talking about the recession of 08, 09. I want to say, maybe it was after 9/11, actually. I can't remember now. When was 9/11 was in
2001.
2001. They cut in half the number of flights. So, like, before they were flying so many flights, there was always seats. There was buddy passes if you had a friend who was, like, a flight attendant or a pilot. Like, I had so many buddy passes, and it was always like, oh, you have to wear a tie and bring cookies, but, like, you get a free flight.
That's right. You had to dress up if you had the buddy pass.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
And now there's just not as many flights. All the flights are full, and it's just super obnoxious,
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Just more trying to maximize revenue?
Yeah.
100%. It's hard to even imagine, because I couldn't even tell you, like, as a kid flying, if we went through security or not. But it's kind of wild to think about. Like, you could just put a bottle of water in your backpack or whatever and don't have to worry so much. Like, we're in Utah right now, just to set the stage for listeners, and driving here, it was so nice because, when you're in your drive mode, you just throw everything in your bag. You don't care how big the bag is or whether it's squishy or not, or is it going to fit in the overhead, is it not?
Metal do I have? How many knives do I have on me?
I got to, like, carry this thing around the airport. But you just throw everything in the back of the car and, you overpack a little bit. So that's just nice. And I think about having that feeling before when they didn't charge for check bags.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't.
Carry-ons was not a thing. That after they started charging for check bags, it was this fight for overhead space, know, and it's a brutal fight, right? Especially if you're flying a budget airline, where it's like, oh, I got to check in the earliest, or if I don't have status, if you're in boarding group 5, you're not getting any overhead space or whatever. And
the airlines always complain about this. The new traveler now is full of anxiety and arguing with flight attendants and passenger fights. We see this on the news all the time. But they're kind of creating it, because if they just had an overhead space for every seat marked out, no one would have to fight over it. But that's part of the game. They want you to sign up for the credit card to get early boarding. They want you to pay for a premium seat, so they don't care about people in Group 9. I think I just did a whole episode about that. I don't think they care about economy passengers.
Was that one of your spiels? Is like,
well, it's just how the majority of the growth in airlines now is in the front of the plane.
Okay, I remember I listened to that podcast before as in preparation for being on your show, and I think that's fascinating because I flew business class coming back from Europe, and the difference is night and day. It's like you're either like this distinguished guest or you're a piece of shit in the back of the plane, like there's no middle ground.
It is
there.
true, man.
Mm-hmm.
How was Europe? How did you? Was this for work you went?
Yeah, this was for work.
What were you What was this? What store? What were you working on?
So I had gotten invited to go over to the French Alps, kind of anchored at this the largest ski resort in the world, the largest interconnected ski resort in the world.
All these
It's called
clarifiers.
The Three Valleys. Yeah.
I thought Park City was the largest.
In North America, they're claiming.
America.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is in the world.
It's in the French Alps.
Yep.
What's it called?
It's called Courchevel. It's called like les Trois Vallées, the Three Valleys. Courchevel is sort of the anchor. It's the biggest of the towns, and this is kind of like Aspen of the Alps, you might say. It's one of the Aspens of the Alps. It's very high end. You get a lot of very wealthy Russians, people from Dubai, Europeans. It's all very fashion, dining forward. While you're also in the sickest backdrop you could ever imagine for skiing, with like some very serious skiing that a lot of people do on-piste skiing. They're just skiing in groomers, tight pants, like a $600, puffy and like fancy integrated goggle helmet, and you see all the fashionistas. But then you have like very serious skiing out of bounds and ski mountaineering, and it's very common to go skiing out of bounds there. People wear a lot of avalanche bags, and you can hire a guide. It's highly recommended to hire a guide.
So which side were you on? The nicely dressed side of the hardcore side?
No, I was on the American ski bum side, but looking good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you do. You're the gearhead too.
Yeah.
Cool. So you just had a couple days of skiing, or what was the vibe?
Oh, I was there for almost 8 days.
Oh.
Because it's a big area, so it's made up of these three valleys. There's really four. There's a lesser valley that they don't include in the three valleys. Had a day of guided out of bounds skiing where we were doing some skinning and some climbing and skiing, trying to find snow. They've had a kind of a low snow year also. Started enjoying the food right away. The long lunches and the coffees and just really rich, amazing food over there. It's like part of the reason why you go. That and the views, like the Alps are just like, they make the Wasatch Range look diminutive, which is pretty hard to do. I did a skimo race. They have a Millet skimo sponsored skimo race.
What's skimo?
Uphill skiing, racing uphill. It's the newest Olympic sport.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Really?
Ski mountaineering.
Okay. So you're skinning up?
You're skinning up.
Or speed skating?
No, skinning. Yeah. With I was skinning in my regular like alpine touring equipment, but the fastest people use very specialized lightweight ski mountaineering skis and boots.
Okay, for those people that don't know what skinning is, it's essentially where you put something on the bottom of your skis that's sticky, so you can walk uphill.
Uphill travel, yeah. It's truly skins. Like Will and I were just in the bar here at the Alta Lodge, and they have an old pair of skins made from cow skins, and in Europe it was made from horses and ponies originally, but yes, it's truly skins facing backwards, so it grips uphill on the snow.
So that's why it was originally called skins.
Yeah.
I don't think I realized that till this trip.
Yeah, and they are very much like that still. It's like a lot of them are synthetic or a blend. They have a mohair or a synthetic, and it is like a brushed, you can feel the direction of the skins, and that allows you to adhere to the snow, and up you go. So I started out with an uphill ski race. I wasn't really trying to be competitive or anything. It was just for fun. But this thing has been going on for 10 years in Courchevel, and they had recently had a qualifying event for the Olympic finalists. And they have an unlimited uphill policy, which is very unlike any resort in the U.S. It's like they just don't care. Like, you want to skin up to the top of the mountain, go ahead. Just. And where in the U.S. it's very restricted and regimented, and many resorts illegal. Like, we just came from Deer Valley, and they don't allow any uphill travel. So it's kind of funny how like the French or Europeans have a lot of rules about some things, and then they're very lackadaisical about other things. like time, for example. But like if you order your coffee before the meal is done, then you're scorned for life.
Don't get a cappuccino in the wrong time.
Yeah. And like, for example, we were talking about the difference between European skiing and skiing in America. While they might be like a little bit lax about going out of bounds and skiing, glaciers and avalanche chutes, they have a law requiring you to put the bar down, the safety bar down on the lift.
That's a law.
It's literally a law. Yeah, they're like, they will stop the lift if you don't put the bar down.
Meanwhile, the ones here don't even have bars.
Don't even have bars. Or you're riding with literally like the marketing director of the resort, and we're not putting the bar down.
Yeah.
So it's a very different approach. But so then I was also there. I wanted to be sure I could kill a few birds with one stone. If I was going to go all that way, I wanted to be sure I could get a few stories out of it. So I was very curious to see Courchevel, experience that, and then I went over to one of the other of the three valleys called Val Thorens. It's Thorens, but it's pronounced Thorens. But sometimes they call it VT. But this is one of the newest ski areas in Europe. And it was developed so late because it's such high elevation that they didn't think people could even survive in this valley. Like there's almost it's a rich agricultural area in the summers, but this valley is so high that there's really no agriculture. It's like wild. They have like wild wildebeest or goats or like mountain ibises. And it's adjacent to a national park, a big vast reserve kind of sits down in one of these valleys. So it's a pretty wild area. It looks like the cliffs here at Alto, the Devil's Backbone. It's very high, very rocky, and it's this kind of European resort, like just kind of etched in the side of these cliffs. Everything is like elevators and stairs and very winding roads. Like you're amazed when you're over there at like how they can even get all of the food and workers up to these little chalets and restaurants, because it's like, you're 2 hours from a major city.
Is this it? Is it Val Thorens?
Yeah, Val Thorens. Yeah.
Oh, that one.
Yep.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
That's just like a little tiny civilization. It's right under them. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's winter only, and it's just basically like condos, apartments, a few chalets, and
that's beautiful.
Chalet is any house in the mountains in France is a chalet. So it's a more common term that you'll hear used. You're renting a chalet. It doesn't mean it's a big like fancy mansion. It just means a house. I mean, some of them are fancy, but some of them are just houses. And so I went there for the Free Ride World Tour, FWT, and they do about 6 stops a year. And this is like kind of like the Red Bull Rampage. It's like the most extreme free riding in the world. And I went to cover that also for Free Skier magazine.
The snow was low there as well.
They're having a low tide year also.
It's the thing with ski travel, mate. It's so hard to plan, and
yeah,
just I feel fortunate we're able to travel for our careers a bit. I really feel for people that have to in the spring of this year they're going to be booking winter travel for next year, and you're rolling the dice on what you're going to get.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why people tend to be more attached to like a destination where they love. Like the manager here at the Alta Lodge was telling us that they have like a 75% repeat business because they love coming to the lodge. Just like some people go to Sun Valley, or they love Jackson Hole, or they're there for the culture, and the skiing is somewhat secondary. Maybe some members of the family it's primary, and others it's they're there for the amenities and the views and the culture.
Yeah, I guess the more of a skier you actually are, the more last minute you'll book, because you're going to be trying to just see how the snow is before you make that reservation.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, yeah, and this year, I mentioned to you, I've been very frustrated because I spent a lot of money on like ski passes for my kids and equipment, and even though I work in the industry, like sometimes I still do have to pay if I want to go where I want to go and have what I want to have, and I think it's been a frustrating year, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what kind of impact this year has on the overall ski economy and what that means for next year and ski sales, and also winter apparel sales. Like a lot of these publicly traded companies like a North Face or a Columbia Sportswear, like Sorel, for example, owned by Columbia Sportswear, if winter boot sales are down and over, like that can greatly affect the overall economy with these major companies. And especially like with this year, like with 60-degree temperatures on the Front Range or even in the mountains, like they probably already have swimsuits out. You know, like
For sale, yeah.
everything is going to be for sale at like 60 or more % off here very soon, and it's February. You know.
I want to get back to the difference between American and European, but while we're on this, we're talking here as concerned skiers, right? Low snow totals, all this. But there's mixed signals from the industry. So you're saying boot sales are down, but last night we just found out at our dinner that, for example, the state of Utah is putting $600 million into ski improvements really this year, over the past year or two, all related
across their 40 resorts.
Expansions, new hotels, new investments. Now, part of that is because they're hosting the Olympics in 2034, right?
That sounds right, yep.
But if you're going to invest $600 million, you seem to not be too worried about the long-term outlook.
I mean, I think there's a bit of a head in the sand thing there, because I also recently saw a study, and we could try to look this up, but they know the people. Okay, this is what it was. The insurance companies that insure these ski resorts, because insurance is like your second highest cost after employees with a ski area.
Okay. Yeah.
And like third is like electricity. Those insurance companies have been doing a lot of research on climate change. And they are actually betting against the ski industry. So people at the highest levels know that climate change is here to stay. And so, you work in the ski industry, like you're always like, I mean, this has been, climate has been changing for 20 years. Like we've been talking about this and calling for change for a long time, and people haven't been listening, haven't been doing anything because it's like good enough, like it's not obvious enough, even while we watch the glaciers literally recede before our eyes since I've been a skier. Like this is within 30 years. And nobody wants to be doom and gloom, like especially in the ski industry. It's like even here, like, okay, they're 90-something% open, so it's like, and they're, they got lodging to consider. A lot of jobs rely on it. A lot of people making skis that they need to sell. I just don't think anyone really wants to be too honest about things, and maybe that's human nature. I'm not coming down on anyone. I'm just saying it's a bigger problem than people realize, especially when you look at like the resorts are all investing in summer activities.
Snowmaking too.
So snowmaking is crazy.
The resorts that are doing well right now, in quotes well, are the ones that can make their own snow.
The only resorts that are even open have a lot of snowmaking. Yeah. We were just at Deer Valley. They just bought another, what did she say, 1,300 snow guns. I've never seen so many snow guns in my life. Like,
totally. It was incredible.
It doesn't feel like a natural skiing experience.
It did not yesterday.
Especially when you're skiing under a parade of snow guns. Like you look like you're going through a battlefield or something.
My local Mountain Powderhorn just sent out an email today, and I don't know what this says about them, but they just offered for the first time ever, and I've never seen this for any ski resort. Right now, you can buy a 3-season pass. They say they're doing it because it's our 60th anniversary, and we're getting a new lift, so we want to, lock you guys into the best price, so your price isn't increasing. So it's $999 for a 3-year season pass.
That's really cool, actually. I've never heard of that. I did see that PR email come through.
It is cool, but what do you think do you think they're doing that because they're like, man,
we've got to get our money now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We want to get the money now because typically the season pass is about $425 if you buy it in the spring.
Okay.
So by doing this, you might save a couple $100. It's not going to be that big.
Right.
But you're committing to 3 years.
Yeah.
So if it's a bad year now, next year starts off bad.
Or you're hedging.
Maybe
your
they're
bets,
trying to.
That feels like a locals product almost too, kind of.
Yeah. But they've never done it before in 60 years.
Yeah.
And just this year they're doing it. So maybe I'm reading into it, but I thought that was interesting.
Everybody needs to get theirs,
I don't know. Skiing is what makes winter fun for me.
Yeah.
So I know we're still doing it, but it's going to be a mindset shift. Because if we just have to ski all man-made snow, then for the future, then like no more powder days.
Well, yeah, fewer powder days, right? And powder is the product. People come to ski powder. When it snows, people come skiing.
Yeah.
It dumps in Summit County, Denver empties out.
Yeah.
If it's not snowing, you're going to the park. You're walking your dog. You're on your bike. And Salt Lake has a similar situation.
Yeah. I always just wonder, too, whether it's just like us overreacting to our own situation. Because, for example, I just randomly came across this tidbit that Maine, the state of Maine, 11,000 years ago, was completely covered in ice. Now, that's a long time, 11,000 years. But, like, geologically speaking, it's not that long. So maybe we're just having a down snow year, and next year's going to be great. But it is funny being here, right? Talking to people, you can sense this just weird energy.
I feel that even amongst my skier friends. I mean, working in the ski industry, it's hard. People are losing their jobs and their livelihoods. I mean, this has been
friends getting
bad
fired.
year. Not necessarily getting fired, but the economy is down, right? Like the ski brands, the destinations are not buying ads. They're not going to spend money when they know that like marketing is often the first to get cut, right? So
and they don't want people to come and have a horrible time if there's no snow. Yeah, that's a tight rope to. How long have you covered skiing?
20 years roughly.
All right. And have you seen years like this before, or spans of years like this?
Well, this is the lowest year on record. So no, I've never seen a year like this.
This is the lowest year on record.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've seen lower years, and I've seen the winters shifting. So as like before, I mean, I've skied powder in October many years. I've skied epic powder in December, January, just blower years. And, this is everything from, Front Range, mostly Northern Rockies where I've lived, in Steamboat, Summit County. And so I've seen lower years, but like now they say like average is the new good. So, like, if we hit average, we're psyched, right?
Yeah.
And so I think people just kind of forget that it used to be a lot more snow.
I love the terminology of skiing. So it's a blower year, it's dumping, or I just heard someone say it might be nuking tomorrow.
Okay.
Nuking.
Well, hopefully. Hopefully it's nuking.
I love the nuking term. All right, let's get back to the European versus American. I want to tell you a quick story, and then we can finish about your trip to France. I've been skiing in Austria several times. And because it's such a long trip, I don't know, did you bring your gear?
I did bring my gear.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will never again go without bringing my gear because as an American skier, I'm so used to skiing in a style where it's more freestyle, very downhill oriented. Like my goal is to go downhill, go fast, and make not so much wide turns, but more small hip turns to control speed.
Yeah.
And just
on wider skis, typically.
On wider skis and just roll over terrain. Like, I don't care what's in front of me. I'm going over it. I'm going up, whatever. I'm cruising downhill. That's my style. But the Europeans, all they want to do is carve.
Mm-hmm.
And to them, being a good skier is how many turns can I make? How sharp are they? So I show up without any skis, and I'm trying to find a ski underfoot that's wide.
More than 88.
I end up with these tiny little, puny little racer skis that they give me. And then I go ski with local people there at the mountain. And it's like, all right, let's go skiing. Let's have fun. And I'm like, okay, Colorado, let's go. Down, 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 down. Trying to just like really push the flow. And they're like, oh, man, how many turns can you get in between here and there? It's kind of funny. Did you experience that?
Yeah, not so much with the people I was skiing with because we kind of had the more ripping mentality because I was skiing with like guides every day.
Even the European guides.
Yep. They're fast skiers. And they were skiing on like, I had the wrong skis because I wanted to ski powder. I thought we were going to be skiing like out of bounds. So like my skinniest ski that I brought was a 108 underfoot, which is a powder ski by most standards. By Western standards, it's kind of an all mountain ski, And like the guys, like I can't remember. I think the widest other ski I saw was like a 102. But most of them are on these like 88, 86 to 98 kind of underfoot. Yeah, so more of a carving type of a mentality. But yes, the rental skis that you see and most of the tourist skiers you ski are carving.
I felt like I went back 10 years in skiability, skiing those things, man. Just
Takes a little getting used to.
Totally different vibe. I mean, I was fine. I was still, an advanced skier, but nothing like the wider skis underfoot here, which I absolutely love. Why do you think those culture differences exist like that?
I'm not sure. I mean, Austria certainly has a richer ski heritage than the United States. I mean, I think I heard that there's more skiers in Austria than there is in the United States, and Austria is like the size of, I don't know, Kansas or something.
Dude, really? Is that true?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's just a cultural thing where you grow up skiing. It's still affordable to ski. It's very family oriented. There's also a lot of really hardcore mountaineers and alpine skiers and ski racing obviously.
I think
so
ski racing
it's
is
just
the
a culture.
Yeah, they focus
and
really
uphill.
on
I
racing.
mean the fitness skiing, the ski mountaineering, the uphill skiing was really born in Europe. They've been doing the fitness skiing and skimo for longer than we have.
You say affordable. How much was it skiing there versus here?
I want to say in the Val Thorens, Toron, their day price was like 86 euros or something. They were advertising being like the best value compared to every other ski resort in the world.
Yeah, what did we just say Vail was? 300 some?
Yeah, it's over 300.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Park City, same, right?
Yeah.
And Big Sky, Jackson Hole, all those got to be over $300 now.
Yeah, Vail is saying holiday rates reaching $350.
Ooh, that's crazy. Why do you think? Is it just the American commercialization?
Man, I don't know why it's so expensive. It's just it shouldn't have to be that expensive. It's such a bummer to me. I mean, I grew up very middle class. Like I didn't start skiing until I was like 16, and I could kind of go on my own with like high school groups or church youth groups or whatever. And I just don't know. I think you have to be rich to ski. And if you look at like ski families and ski racing and stuff, like you're not getting into those sports unless your parents were in those sports or very supportive and encouraging. Like you have to have a car first of all to go skiing, and you have to have. I mean, the boots are $800. Like everything about it is expensive. So,
do you think it's because American ski resorts try and build up so much around it that they raise their costs?
That they have higher costs that they're trying to cover. I mean, the food is also just ridiculously expensive, notoriously expensive, right? Like. When we used to go skiing in college, like it was all about like trying to either ski for free or like get something for free. Like whether I don't remember ever paying for parking when I first started skiing when I was 18 and living in Fort Collins. I had a Vail Pass that was $180, and it was like you could always park somewhere for free. You go into the cafeteria and like eat like crackers and relish or whatever. Bring your PB&J and yeah, just the idea of paying $18 for a burger just wasn't a thing.
Yeah, I'm the king of the pocket sandwich and the pocket beer.
Yeah.
Just throw it in. That's the good thing about the winter clothes. You can hide it. Why do you think – so we live in the American West. We have Utah, we have Colorado, California, big mountain skiing. A lot of my friends in Colorado have been going to Japan.
Sure.
Because of the snow there. They've just been getting nuked on, as you might say.
This year.
Why should someone go, in your opinion, you've been covering skiing for a long time, why should someone go to Europe to ski? I mean, obviously you might say, well, yeah, see something different. Okay, for sure. But you could go in the summer, for example, and see it as well.
That's
like,
true.
Is ski travel to a place like Europe, if you live in America, is that something we should do?
Worth
it?
What do you think? I would definitely recommend it, yes. Just because of, like, the ski culture. Like, for me, there's just something about the hundreds of years of ski culture and the lodges and the food and the terrain is just so spectacular. I mean, the Alps are just so beyond breathtaking, and the infrastructure that they've got up there to me is just shocking. Like, I think I started out by saying like these winding roads that it takes to get up there. It's like, how did they get all these cheeses up here, and it's all like local people working too. I mean, you go to the resorts in America, and this is not against immigrants or foreign workers at all, but like the fact is, most of these ski resorts in North America are using foreign workers. They're using J1 or W2B visa workers. Like I was in a bar in Jackson Hole, and there was two like dudes from like Hungary or something that barely even spoke English. It's like that's not like part of the Jackson ski culture, Like I'm just saying, like you go to Jackson, you expect like kind of a cowboy to be serving your drinks. Let's face it. And like I mean, we were over at Deer Valley yesterday, and like there was no one at our hotel that even spoke English. They were all Spanish speakers, which is lovely. Like we got to practice our Spanish and I love interacting with these cultures, but like in Europe, it's local people. These are like careers. You know, you could be a waiter in France your whole life and make a decent living and be middle class and afford to go skiing. And in the U.S., that's not a thing.
That's a good point. And then the people you're meeting working there are actually part of the local culture.
Yeah.
Where to your point here, you come to the hotel, you're meeting people from, they're not really part of.
They're a college student from Brazil or
Right.
whatever, you know. Yeah, they're not answering your questions about where to go or where to ski, right?
Yeah. Okay, so
yeah.
culture would be one reason to
and
go.
then
see.
the other thing is access to high peaks. You know, like there's nothing like skiing in Chamonix. Like we don't have the high glaciers that they have there. Like there's trams in Europe that will just blow your mind. You know, you're like, how the F did they put in this tram and where are we going? You know, like it's not higher in terms of elevation. It's actually lower, but you know, by sheer meters above sea level. But the relief is greater. The vertical feet is greater.
Yeah, they're so carved, like straight up from the valley floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's just breathtaking, man. It's just the whole thing is just so incredible.
Chamonix is gorgeous. How far from Chamonix are these places you went?
Maybe by like a couple hours or so. You know, everything is pretty accessible there. You know, it's a small, like France could fit in the state of Texas. You know, but the Alps stretch across Switzerland,
Germany,
Italy,
Austria.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of places have it.
And they're all a little bit different, you know, but they do have similarities. The other really cool thing about skiing in Europe is the hut system. And so, you know, there's a lot of like ski touring, and you kind of tour from hut to hut, and just with your rucksack, you know, your backpack, your Avi gear, and then you eat at the huts and have breakfast at the huts, and then you ski out the next day. And for me, like that's like the stuff dreams are made of, you know. Like I love, you know, being outdoors in the winter, and like the hut systems that we have here in the U.S. are something that's really special to me. And so the refugios, which is what they call them in the Alps, is something even next level to that.
Yeah,
So
one thing I would add too, and they try and do it here, like especially in Utah, but we don't see it many places, is that you have different villages all connected by the ski areas.
yeah,
So you can literally start in one village, and you could end up miles away and where you're taking a big shuttle back, but you're in a totally different village.
right. And that's kind of how the Three Valleys is. Yeah, like I skied from Courchevel to Val Thorens in about an hour and a half, and that was taking our time and you know, shredding a little bit on the way. But it's like a 45-minute drive around to get over there. So
It's wild.
I'm
Like, they have nothing like that here in America that you can think of?
Really, I mean, where we are right now is one of the only places where you can ski from one ski resort into another ski resort.
Alta into Snowbird here, but that's really just...
No, I'm talking about skiing the interconnect over the canyons, yeah, from Little Cottonwood to Big Cottonwood.
So they have a thing in Utah called the Interconnect Tour, which connects 5 resorts over a ridge line, but that's just a day tour. Right?
It's a day tour.
Yeah.
It's a day tour.
So it's and it's not like you're landing in another... I guess it's just different. It's like, it's just so different.
I can't think of any other places where you're skiing from resort to resort or from town to town.
I guess Park
City
City would be like a legit village, quote unquote.
But you're not even going to Park City. Yeah.
You wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, because like you could go literally like with a credit card, almost like you would do a bike tour with that credit card touring. You know.
I went to St. Anton several years ago in Austria, and I think it was like 30 some villages were connected by that infrastructure.
Yeah,
and you could
so
get
cool.
in trouble. You could end up hours from where you're supposed to be that night.
Yeah, you want a guide, that's for sure.
Yeah. How would you compare? Like, where's your favorite place to ski in North America?
Oh man, I don't know. I didn't know you were going to ask me.
Okay, you don't have to pick a favorite, but
I mean,
maybe some of the places you're.
My favorite place to ski is the place I'm skiing that day.
Of course.
I really love being outside in the winter ever since I was a little kid, and like I used to take my sled and like pack it up like I was in, you know, Star Wars on the Hoth planet, and go out on my own and like trek through the creek and like go winter camping and Boy Scouts. You know, like I've just always been obsessed with being outdoors in the winter. So anywhere I can stay slopeside is my favorite. I also like to support smaller resorts. I like the smaller family style resorts, especially now that I do have kids that ski, and so I don't have to pay $300. You know, I wouldn't pay $300. I like places that have free parking, dirt parking lots. and
free parking's huge.
And that I don't have to wait in an hour and a half line to get on a massive gondola to go up to access the skiing. I like to ski from my car. I could answer it differently and say that like there are places that are my favorites. Like Telluride, for example, is one of my favorite places in the world. And I think Telluride resembles European skiing in that way. Like in fact, like Telluride has a gondola that's part of their public transportation system. Courchevel also has that. So I think there's a lot of similarities in some of these more dramatic, exclusive resorts in the U.S.
I haven't been to Telluride in years, well, probably a decade now, but everyone calls it Little Aspen, right? What do you think of those comparisons? Just a lot of people fly into Grand Junction, close to where I live, and they take a shuttle down to Telluride.
I have seen that. I've flown into that
Montrose.
airport and seen that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't remember calling it Little Aspen.
Just because of the vibe and how expensive it's got.
Yes, and you do actually see a lot more, like back in the day, you would see a lot more European tourists in Telluride. And you do see that fashion element. It is because it's an expensive place to go. It's off the beaten path by a long way.
Big time.
And there is like the extremity of the American West cowboy motif exists there. And so people want to come there, from Japan or Texas or Europe and experience that cowboy vibe, the American West. And nowhere really exemplifies that like Telluride. So I think much like Aspen, it could be kind of bougie and Gucci, but it can also be very extreme. Like Aspen, despite the fact that it has a lot of like douchebag billionaire, millionaires, whatever, fur coats, etc., it also has some of the most extreme terrain in North America and some of the most hardcore local skiers I've ever met in my life, and local athletes live in the Aspen Valley and the Roaring Fork Valley. So, where there's mountains, you're going to get, ski mountaineers. So
it's so unique about the ski industry too. It's kind of funny because you do have this such mix of people. Place like Aspen, you have the high-end people, and then you have like the ski bums, the ski bros, who always find that one bar in town that'll sell you a $2 beer or whatever it is.
Yeah, and Aspen, the thing for the locals is definitely chasing the deals. Like everybody knows, like, oh, Monday nights is whatever burger night, and it's still expensive, but
okay, so you've skied Colorado for a long time. Someone asked me this the other day. I'll tell you what I said, but I'm curious to hear your answer first. I told him I was coming to Utah for skiing, and this person was not that experienced of a skier. Or frankly, I don't even know how often they do it. But they said, dude, you live in Colorado. Why would you go to Utah to ski?
Yeah.
So
it's a fair question.
Yeah. Curious how you would answer that.
I mean, I fell in love with these Wasatch Mountains up almost as long as I've been in Colorado, because I started coming out to Utah. Will's heard me say this a few times over the last couple of days, but I started coming out to Utah for the Outdoor Retailer trade shows in 1995 was my first OR here in Salt Lake. And so working in the outdoor industry with two shows a year, two major trade shows a year happening in Salt Lake City, Utah was just your second home. And we all gathered here, and I really fell in love with the Wasatch Mountains. I also really fell in love with the people of Utah. For better or worse, there's just like, I just have a lot of friends here, and there's just like, it's a really, really great group of people, athletes and outdoors people and business people. And so, despite, some of its drawbacks from religiosity or religiousness or some of their weird alcohol laws because of their typical, Mormon background, it's still just a really vast and beautiful place to come. It's also way less crowded
than Colorado.
Yeah. So,
really?
People in Utah call Colorado Crowdorado.
I've never heard that.
And so,
Crowdorado?
Yeah. And so, they don't really have like a Breckenridge here where you're going to go and have to park and ride a shuttle and take a Gandhi and wait in line for an hour and a half. That's not really a thing here. I would say like, 7 to 15 minutes is the longest you'd ever wait in a lift line at any busy resort in Utah. So it's less crowded. It's easier to get to the resorts. The mountains are probably more stunning and spectacular than the Rockies. Maybe the Wasatch may be a little smaller, but still maybe more stunning in their vastness with all the big peaks surrounding here, with Mount Temp and Mount Superior, and just the Wasatch is just so incredible. And then they have the same weather that we have. So they have the same snow. They have the champagne powder. They have 300 inches of snow. They have 300 days of sunshine. So it's like the same weather, but just like, I don't know, a little cooler. And that's coming from a Colorado. And like, I'm not saying I'm going to move here, even though I've considered it many times over the years. Like, Colorado is epic. We have the weed. We have like the culture. It's more laid back. It's really awesome. Rivers, etc. But there's just something special about Utah.
Yeah. The people are very different, I think, between Colorado and Utah. And I think a lot of it comes from that Mormon background you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Again, no commentary on that. It's just, a little bit more conservative than the Colorado lifestyle. Who, you're more likely, if you're in Colorado, people are smoking weed on the lifts. Mm-hmm. People have beers in their pocket. Mm-hmm. People are just different in that way. But in terms of the skiing, people are very similar. You have some of the best athletes in the world in both the two states.
That's right. If you look at the Olympics right now, there's many represented.
Yeah. Well, so I was looking up the happy hour thing earlier. I just wanted to read some of it.
Okay.
Because everybody knows that Utah has some different liquor laws, but how different, it's kind of crazy. So the state controls all liquor sales here. Any wine, spirits, and high alcohol beer can only be sold at state-run liquor stores.
Package store, yeah.
Other states have that. Like I remember Virginia. I went to college in Virginia. Yeah. But these stores have limited hours, closed Sundays and holidays, and you cannot have a sales promotion or volume discount. So if you go into a store in Colorado, it's like
you buy a case of wine, you get a deal.
Something's on sale, exactly. Okay. So you can't have any sales promotion or volume discount. The beer strength rule, a grocery store and convenience store can only sell beer up to 5% ABV.
Yeah, and that's new. That used to be 3.2, kind of like in Colorado.
Colorado used to be 3.2. Mm-hmm. But Colorado is pretty recently they changed that, last decade or two, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that's the thing. If you buy beer in the grocery store, everything else, like stronger beer, has to be at one of those state stores.
Or at a restaurant or a brewery.
They can sell them at restaurants or breweries. It doesn't say that here, but I believe that. Restaurant and brewery, speaking of that, the measured pours. This is a huge difference. You had a cocktail last night.
Yeah.
I was thinking that because I got a Negroni. Negroni is usually 3 shots. Gin, or I got mine with mezcal, vermouth, and Campari. It's supposed to be a shot of each. How the hell did they make that cocktail?
So that may be a loophole because I seem to remember years ago as like a younger person coming here and people were ordering like Long Island iced teas, like drinks that are just known to have like multiple shots. So maybe there is certain drinks that have a loophole like that. But, you will see measured shot pours in other states. But you know what we're talking about. It's the thing, they have a little ring at the bar and the bottle of liquor goes into the ring and it pours at exactly an ounce.
Or an ounce and a half, right?
Is it an ounce and a half?
I think it's 1.5.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Because 1.5 is the same size as an airplane liquor bottle, which we were talking about. A small little airplane bottle is 1.5. And like I said, South Carolina, when I lived in Georgia, I know had a liquor, an airplane bottle law where all the bars had like rows of the little mini bottles.
It's 1.5 ounce.
Okay. So the shot pours are 1.5. Okay. But as you know, going into any bar, in Colorado or whatever, like it's a stiff pour typically, right?
Free pouring, as
so
they're
so they're controlling that. Which, with liquor, like they're trying to keep people from getting too fucked up, and maybe that's okay.
Okay, so I'm just looking at this. So for the Negroni, for example, Utah has to change it. So a Utah legal Negroni structure, the primary spirit is capped at 1.5 ounce. So gin, for example, has to be 1.5. A small amount of a different spirit or liqueur may be added, often 0.5 ounces.
So they're using a little pour cup measure that they have, yeah.
So in this recipe, it would be 1.5 ounce gin, and instead of doing, like I make them at home, 1.5 ounces of Campari and vermouth, they do 0.5 ounces of each of the Campari and the sweet vermouth.
Okay.
So they don't do like 1 equal parts Negroni or anything. Okay, so the cocktails are different. They also, happy hour, no go.
Illegal.
Utah bans traditional happy hours. No time-based drink discounts are allowed. No 2-for-1 or temporary price cuts. Most states allow happy hours as a normal business practice, but Utah does not. Mm-hmm. That's kind of wild. That's so ingrained in culture everywhere else.
Yeah.
And then the food. Utah
have to
law
have food.
strongly encourages and in some cases requires food service alongside alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Bars and restaurants have to be clearly separated. And, in many states, bars can operate with minimal or no food, but you have to have food
Provided,
available.
There's usually pretzels or something. Oh, the other big one is you can't have two drinks in front of you at the same time, which will often trip up a typical like drinking traveler,
Trying to get a 2-for-1.
Trying to get a beer and a shot.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can't do beer shots here.
Or having another beer sitting in front of you while you're finishing up your other one. It'll trip you up.
And that all comes from the Mormon culture, right?
The idea of restricting alcohol, yes. And sort of like a sin tax, yeah. Typical Mormon traditional is no alcohol, no caffeine.
I think that's probably the biggest difference between Colorado and Utah, honestly.
It really is.
But
I mean,
we talk about this and it's a joke. And I remember I think we were talking about this the other day when we talked about the Interconnect. My first story ever for Men's Journal was about the Interconnect Trail.
Uh-huh.
This was going back in 2015, maybe.
Okay.
And I remember that story significantly because you know how editors will change stuff in your story?
They'll edit you and make it wrong or something.
And a lot of times you get the chance to weigh in on it. But this guy just made changes and published it. And the change he made was he inserted a joke. What's the old saying is like, good editors like put in funny quips and bad editors will take out your funny quips. And
totally.
This guy tried to insert a joke into my story about beer being illegal in Utah. And it was basically like, at the end of the Interconnect, it was a kicker. Like at the end of the Interconnect, you might be thirsty for a beer, but good luck in a state where beer is barely legal or something. And I was so annoyed by it just because it's not my joke. Like I don't want to tell that joke.
That wasn't your conclusion.
Right?
Yeah.
This story's about skiing. It's not about drinking. But also I think it sends the wrong message. Like we could get drunk here right now if we wanted.
Sure.
There's nothing preventing you from having a good time in Utah.
Right.
And I just want to make that clear because a lot of people make snarky comments about Utah of like, oh, good luck, this or that. So,
all
right.
No, you can be plenty buzzed. I mean,
you can be
there's
good to
nothing
go.
stopping you from having multiple drinks. There's just a few little weird rules that have remained. Since they made revisions after the 2002 Olympics came, they had to loosen things up a little bit, including getting rid of their membership concept.
Oh, that's
so before
right.
2002, you had to be, quote, a member of any like drinking establishment, and so they were charging you like $10 or $20 to become a member at the door of these bars, and that was kind of a running joke from those years that I was coming before that time. They got rid of that for the Olympics and modified some of their other rules and regulations. Also, with the growth in micro distilleries and microbreweries, they made some changes. Because it was tough for microbreweries to brew a beer that was less than 5%. Now you can go to some of these breweries in Colorado and get a wonderful day drinking, a session lager that's only 4.3% or something, which I like, because then I can have two when I'm out and not be worried about it.
But most of the beers in Colorado, I would say, are over 6% now.
I mean, of
it
course,
just keeps
with
getting...
the tradition with the IPAs and the double IPAs, you're talking about a 7, 8, 9% beer. It's like drinking a glass of wine,
I just did a story. It was my first story for Yahoo, and this wasn't my idea, but the story was best guys trips in the U.S.
Oh, we're on a guys trip right now.
I know, bro. You know it. And I ultimately did not select Denver as one of the I had to pick 6 or whatever, and I ultimately didn't pick Denver, but I put in an honorable mention category.
Sure.
And I put Denver, and there was just like one line to like explain why. Weed and hoppy beer. Like enough said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Denver's a great town, I mean, I loved being a young person in Denver.
Now you're in the Springs.
Yep, we moved to Colorado Springs. Well, I only lived in Denver from 2006 to 2010. So I spent about 4 formative years there. Very much enjoyed it. Met my wife, and then we moved up to Summit County, and I've lived all over Colorado. Yeah, I've lived in Steamboat, and I lived in Boulder, lived in the mountains outside of Boulder, lived in Summit County, and now we live in Colorado Springs. Yeah, which is also a very conservative spot, but getting better, kind of like Utah,
Were you in Denver when weed became legal?
I was in Summit County when weed became legal. Yeah.
Yeah, I was living
remember.
in Denver proper, Cap Hill,
Yeah.
when it became legal. And
I remember the day, like
It-
New Year's Day
Totally.
of 2015, I want to say it was. I proudly marched into the
yeah.
dispensary and bought weed legally.
I'm trying to remember what I think it was earlier than that.
You're
Let's
right.
see.
You're right. Maybe it was 2011.
That sounds more right.
Okay.
Let's see. Just look it
11,
up.
12
12
might be more accurate.
Technology. November 6, 2012, Colorado voters passed Amendment 64,
Okay,
legalizing
so it's
recreational
New
cannabis.
Year's Day of 2013 then.
January 1, 2014, the first
Oh,
legal
gosh.
commercial sales of recreational marijuana began.
Okay, so I was close. Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the ballpark. Yeah. I thought it was earlier, too. I was going to say 2013,
Okay.
but it was 2014. And I remember the city changed a lot. You had a lot of people move to Colorado. That was when everyone discovered Denver wasn't like an icy, frozen tundra. And they're like, wow, this place is pretty cool, and there's legal weed. I'm moving from the
There
Midwest.
was an uptick for sure. That was like a pre-pandemic uptick, right? And then they saw like all the good revenue happening, and
Wasn't it all supposed to go to education?
something like that at first. Yeah, it was kind of
Has
like
it?
the
I don't-
lottery. I don't know. Yeah, but it certainly created a lot of jobs.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I kind of regret it. Like, people that got into the pod industry in 2012 are bazillionaires.
A lot of
right
them
now.
are retired and living in Belize now. You know, they were buying RVs with cash because they couldn't do anything with their money. They weren't allowed to bank it. So
That's right. Cash
they were
houses.
buying property in Costa Rica. They were buying houses like that, like especially for the real estate industry, which had taken a big hit in 08, 09. Like there's warehouses and buildings. Like if you look at like say Trinidad, for example, which was totally run down because of the weed industry in Pueblo and legalization in Trinidad. Trinidad is like really nice now. Like the downtown has been completely renovated, and so like these warehouses that were sitting empty, and then the growers took them all over. Like then landlords are certainly happy about that. So I think it's been a huge boon to the state.
I think so, and I don't feel there's been that much negative stuff to come along.
I don't
with it.
either. The only people talking about the negative stuff are just people who don't want people smoking weed. Like they're saying, oh, there's tons of like homelessness and ne'er-do-wells and like criminal activity. And it's like, no, there's actually less criminal activity because it's not controlled by the mafia now.
Don't smoke weed. Go home and have 6 beers instead.
Yeah, smoke
That's
a
like
cigarette.
that's our culture. I'm looking into getting my EMT license, and you can't smoke weed. You get drug tested to even take the course. They drug test you. But I think we've all met people who work in those fields. They'll go home and have 3-4 beers, and that's fine. Relax, wake up the next day, but can't go home and smoke a joint and then wake up and go to work the next day.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strange, the overlap
I was
of
an
that
EMT.
culture.
I don't remember.
You got your EMT?
Yeah, I was a wilderness first responder and an emergency medical technician.
Wow.
I was kind of going down like a ski patrol path there for a little while, and I had a buddy who kind of inspired me to go into emergency medicine, and so I did that. I worked at the hospital in a triage for a little while. I did my training courses in the ambulance and really liked it. I did the wilderness component because I was interested in guiding and ski patrolling. But then right after that, I ended up going back to graduate school for photography, and so I couldn't do both things.
Did you work on an ambulance?
Just for getting my certification, you have to do your ride-alongs.
But you spent time in an ambulance.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Oh, it's really cool.
So you say really cool. Just before you start your story, it's funny the way you say that because I've been reading a lot about this and people talk about it that way. But it's one of these professions where it's cool, quote unquote, but you're dealing with like some really tragic stuff.
You have to be like an adrenaline junkie, I think. Yeah, and but for me, the one of the greatest things about doing my EMT, was learning to stay calm under pressure. So the mottos with emergency medicine is go slow to go fast. So, it's very methodical. You're following, your standard protocols. You're staying calm. The more agitated and excited and not under control other people get, the calmer I get. And that's something that I learned from being an EMT. It also taught me just a lot about general public safety, about personal protection and protecting myself from other people's bodily fluids and also just what an incredibly hard job that is. You're constantly being spit on, vomited on, blood on you, disruptive patients, head injuries, homeless people. Like, it is a pretty gnarly job being a first responder. So it gave me a new level of respect for just like being a careful driver, like be like general public safety and like just the hard jobs that these firefighters and EMTs have.
Were you responding to very memorable events, or were there's like for every car crash that's like super dramatic, there's the auntie that fell down the stairs, or people calling just like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but nothing's wrong with them?
You get a lot of people who are non-compliant with their medication. Now, also, mind you, I did my EMT in Boulder, and so it's like, skateboarding accident, or like, maybe a homeless person, but it's a lot of like elderly people. It's a lot of diabetes. It's a lot of medical calls, not always trauma.
So you were doing that, and then did you just like get this interest in photography all of a sudden?
No, I had also been a photographer my whole life. I had been doing a couple of .com startups at that time, and this was in the early 2000s also.
You were a .com startup?
Yeah, I did like probably 3 different startups between 99 and the real like kind of internet boom, and like the birth of like e-commerce, and then also of e-learning. I was involved in medical e-learning startup. So, because like once you're kind of in that like circle, like we're all hiring each other anyway, So whether you're a content person or a programmer or a designer or developer, like, you're kind of bopping around because it was like, oh, we've got startup capital, and now we're busted, So, like, I was at Planet Outdoors, and I think at that time we spent like the most money of any startup, like $33 million, and then we were laying people off 6 months later. Or
33 million,
and that was a lot of money in 2000,
That's
right?
a lot of money.
So, it was a boom and bust thing, and I got in with kind of like that, and then after I got laid off from a couple of those, I was pretty burned out and like looking for a different path. And so I did the EMT thing, thinking maybe I would go and become a ski patroller, and then at the same time I decided to go back to graduate school. I don't know, and I'd always wanted to go back to grad school, but a lot of times when the economy is down, people will go back to school. And so there was a little bit of a recession, I want to say, in 2000. There was like a 2000 to 2002, there was a bit of a recession.
After 9/11, probably, for sure.
Yeah. And so I had always hoped to like not have to pay for graduate school, but I had been out of school for 10 years, and I was like, well, this is the perfect time, right? So I decided to go back and get my master's degree in photography.
What is a degree in photography? You're learning composition and everything like that?
You're learning history, all the technical side of it. It's a pretty robust program. I mean, I had to learn, all the art history is very important, especially because you're kind of on a teaching path at the master's level. The MFA is the terminal degree in art and fine art. So, like, there is no PhD, and so the MFA is the terminal degree. So you could go on to teach, and so you have to know a lot of background, and you have to be technically proficient. You have to produce, bodies of work, and have a personal vision, and yeah.
Were you shooting skiing and adventure sports?
No, I was.
Like
Well, before I was shooting skiing and adventure sports, but for some reason I always thought I wanted to be like a commercial photographer. And I didn't exactly know what the path was at that time to become a commercial photographer, besides going to New York and working for one, which is also a very, viable path. But I guess part of me, like, I didn't want to go to New York. Like, I was still clinging to this, like, lifestyle, So I went to Savannah, Georgia, which I thought would offer me, like, this beach lifestyle because it's near a beach, so it has kind of like a beach town vibe.
How near, though? It's not very near.
No,
it's
like 20 minutes from the beach. Yeah.
Oh, 20 minutes.
Yeah, there's the little town called Tybee Island. That's kind of like a little East Coast surfer vibe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's almost like a Virginia Beach. You might compare it to like a Outer Banks kind of a vibe. So I thought in my head that I was gonna be like living like in a beach surf town, but I was kind of kidding myself because it's like, A, it's not on the beach, and B, I'm in grad school at one of the most prestigious private art schools in the world, and so I was working my ass off. It was a big eye opener. I mean, it was the hardest I've ever worked that I can recall. doing coursework and like shooting projects and being like high pressure to perform. Ultimately, it was a lot of work and a lot of life learning experiences and technical precision, like learning to print in the darkroom.
Were you shooting
Now,
stuff around Savannah?
mind you,
Oh.
yeah, I was mostly shooting stuff around Savannah and in the studio. So I did end up learning to shoot in the studio and to shoot still lifes, and like I was always obsessed as a little kid with magazines, right? Of course, there's Outside, National Geographic, and all the typical like those mags. But I was also obsessed with like food and wine. Like I love travel and leisure, food and wine, like these keystone titles that I grew up with. I was like, how do I do that? And so I had worked as a writer most of my life, but also a photographer. Now, mind you, this was before digital. Okay, so like I would go on a press trip and like I was shooting slides.
Oh, wow.
And I would go on a press trip with like say 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9 people, and I might be the only guy with a real camera, or maybe there was 2 of us that had cameras, and we were the photographers. Now you go on a press trip, everyone's got a camera, and
Everyone's
so
got an iPhone,
it's
yeah.
really the game changed a lot over my time in doing it. And it was also one of these things where you had to be able to have access, so you had to somewhat be like an athlete to even have the access. You had to have the privilege, like you had to have money to buy the equipment, and so it was a very exclusive thing.
So how do you feel about, as a photographer who went through all that training, about the rise of technology in the iPhone? Does it annoy you now? Because we're not getting paid for photos really anymore.
Exactly. That went away. The brands will sometimes pay for a photographer, and then everyone wants to use them for free because someone paid for it. And yeah, like it's always been hard, but it's gotten harder and harder all the time. I'm not like bitter about it, because it'd be like if you're a travel agent being bitter about the internet. Like you can't be bitter. You just have to adapt and change. And there's still levels, right? So like there's still a professional level, and also the expectations of quality have gotten very high. Even to be on Instagram now, you have to be shooting really high quality photos to stand out. So I also had like this passion for analog, because I came up in this analog world and had been working in the darkroom since elementary school. I just had a real passion for gritty, handmade photographs. And so I kind of stuck with that, especially like after SCAD. I was like, there was something about my work that just remained sort of analog and gritty, and I never chased the high res, super glam, high production value stuff, for better or worse.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you think of Savannah?
Savannah's a very interesting town. It was challenging to live there. It was my first time living really in the South since I was like a little kid. And it's very different than where I grew up in the South. It's very like kind of segregated, you might say.
Where'd you grow up in the South?
In Tennessee.
Oh, in Tennessee.
Yeah.
In Memphis?
No, on the other side of the state, in Greenville, Nashville area.
Okay.
Yeah, and both my parents were from that area, and I was born there. And
so Tennessee and Georgia right next to each other?
Because Tennessee is more like Appalachian, you might say. We're closer to Kentucky than we were to Georgia, So I didn't really have a lot of experience with like interracial living, to be honest with you. And because I moved to Colorado when I was, I had been around white people most of my life. And so that was like a really interesting and eye-opening experience for me that changed me, and now I just like have so much like love and passion for having friends that are people of color. And I love having those people around me.
I remember Savannah famous for the squares.
Yeah.
So
the way the city
can you
was
explain
designed.
that?
I mean, there's a lot of history around Savannah for sure. And then I don't know if we have time if you want to talk about Atlanta too.
Yeah, we definitely want to talk about Atlanta, because you went back for another project just recently.
Yeah, so the Savannah College of Art and Design opened a school in Atlanta, which is about 3.5 hours from Savannah inland. Probably SCAD was on this like great growth curve, this massive growth curve where they were like trying to take and be competitive with like RISD and some of these other top commercial art schools in the country. So they opened this Atlanta campus, and last year they invited me to come back as a presidential fellow, where they basically invite alumni back and they pay them a stipend to come and make a body of work and interact with students and that kind of thing.
What did you make?
I made like about 25 large-scale collages, you might say, of like of dating back my life as a photographer 25 years, and then also making new work. So I created like showing an evolution of my own work and the processes themselves, culminating with what I might call a more like high production value, like very high digital, complex, photo shoot. So I was showing work that I made when I was 25 with like a 35 millimeter film camera, and then work that was made when I was 53, the same year that my dad died. So it was like a story of my life as a photographer, and also a letter to my children, and showcasing letters that I had been given from my parents. I had letters from my dad, and I had letters that my mom wrote me after my dad died. And so, and then I had a little like multimedia where I was showing some VHS stuff, like just for fun, just for people to see it mixed in because of the evolution of video. So yeah, it was kind of a historical look at my life as a photographer.
Dude, that seems really heavy.
It was a lot.
Like,
it was
a lot of
work.
components there. Hold on. So it's like a timeline of yourself, but
as
then
told through the medium of photography.
Right.
Yeah.
And then also with your dad. So let's go one at a time. What did you learn about yourself from looking back and seeing that laid out?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I guess that I don't know that I learned anything super telling about my own self, except that I have a great passion for storytelling and for people, which I already knew. But it was a really unique opportunity as an adult and a father to go back and be able to take this time, almost 3 months, to make this body of work. Because it's not that often in life that you're being paid to make art, and so, I mean, unless you're really pursuing a career in art and working and doing other things, like there's not that many people that support themselves as a full-time artist,
It's a wild industry,
so
like
yeah.
the art dealing. Are you familiar with that piece that sold for many millions of dollars that's just like a banana peel?
Sure.
What is, do you remember
It was
that?
the banana duct tape to the wall.
Yeah. How much did that sell for?
Yeah, that's something,
Yeah,
like $3 million or something.
Does
I don't
that,
remember.
as an artist, does that just drive you crazy?
Not necessarily, because I'm fascinated by all art, like whether it's performance art or musical art or fine art, painting. Like I love art that I can't do. So like I'm much less impressed by photography than I am by like dance.
Okay. But see, that's what
So
the way you put it.
I love abstract art also.
The way you put it so good. Impressed by art you can't do. But then when I see this, where someone has duct taped a banana
You're
to
like,
a canvas,
I could do that.
I was like, if I did that and gave it to my mom, she'd throw it out.
And so
This guy
people say
sold
this
it.
all the time about like abstract art, where it's like it's a blue canvas, okay, or splatter work, right? And someone's like, I could do that, and the response is, but you didn't.
Right.
It's an
Right,
idea.
yeah.
Like the art is about like the concept. I've seen people hang toilet paper from the ceiling. I mean, it's like you see all different kinds of stuff, and some of it blows your mind. Like you go to New York and hit some of the galleries and stuff, you're just like you're weeping. Like
I've never cried at a gallery, but but like, isn't it just more of the marketing that you're being sold to? Like if toilet paper's hanging from the ceiling. I remember, have you ever been to the Heidelberg Project in Detroit?
No, but I've heard of it.
It's a neighborhood in Detroit. I went a decade ago, so maybe it's still there or not. But it was like art in people's yards. So every house had, but it was very abstract. Like one I remember was a pile of shoes with a lawnmower on top of it.
Yeah.
And that was
I love stuff
symbolizing
like that.
something,
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm just sort of like an eye-rolly kind of guy with that stuff. But probably because I'm not involved in it or invested in it. I just was curious as an artist, like if you're trying to make work, you're trying to sell, and you're impressed by stuff you can't do, and then you see these kind of gimmicky pieces of art selling for a lot because of the marketing around it.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that was frustrating.
No, I would say it's just part of the deal.
Maybe like a pop song. It's like a good singer-songwriter looking at a pop artist or something.
I mean, I just focus on myself. Like you have to have a reason for doing the work. If you have a reason, then you could do anything you want. I mean, there's a lot of technical skills involved as well, depending on your medium. But really, it's about the passion and the vision and the story.
your project with your dad and having those letters just must be. Now, were you able to take this home with you?
I did take it home. Sometimes they didn't acquire the work, which was actually a little bit disappointing because some of these fellowships they actually acquire the work. So they didn't acquire the work. I don't know why. I'm sure they have their reasons or whatever. But I got some good feedback on it, and so I do have the work, and I do hope to show it again, like
Can we
in
see
a
it
gallery
online?
setting. It is online. It's on my Instagram. I haven't built out a gallery on my website for it because it really has to be seen in person.
Okay.
I mean, these I also didn't realize when I started putting these pieces together, kind of how unique these letters were, because they were typed out, and some of them were handwritten. And it didn't really occur to me that people don't actually communicate like that anymore. So when I started pasting them up and putting them together, I was like, wow, these are real artifacts,
You pasted the actual notes up?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
Were you worried about destroying them?
No, I
or
wanted
anything?
people to touch them. I didn't care.
Oh, wow.
I taped them in a manner. And I also had some books that sort of tied into that I taped up or glued up the chapters of the books. I wanted people to actually walk up to the work and touch them. And I didn't care if they got fingerprints or anything. That was sort of part of it.
All right, I'll put your Instagram in the show notes so people can go check it out if they want. I know we're coming up on dinner, so I want to make sure we get Atlanta in because.
Okay.
Quick story about Atlanta for me. I have not been as an adult. I've been to Atlanta one time through the airport, and that was in college because I played volleyball and we were traveling for a game, and we had I think it was a 3-hour layover, one of those in-between layovers where should we go out and do something, should we not?
Yeah.
And half the team decided to stay at the airport, and a more ambitious half decided to go to the Coca-Cola factory or whatever, the museum, the Coca-Cola museum there, because Coca-Cola was invented in Atlanta. You can go there apparently and
the
taste.
The headquarters were there for years.
All the different formulas throughout the world you can taste, whatever.
Yeah.
And I stayed back at the airport because I was much less of a risk taker at that time in my life, and was really just into the team and didn't want anything to get screwed up.
Yeah. You're like, you guys are crazy. What are you doing?
Dude, the guys made it back. Literally, it was last call, and they all got on the plane.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, my God. But so I've always been curious by Atlanta. One of my editors is from Atlanta, so I talk to her sometimes, and she tells me about it. One of my buddies just went and said the Greenbelt is amazing.
Yeah.
So maybe for someone like myself who's never been to Atlanta, talk to me about the appeal of it. And it's just one of these big cities in America that's kind of forgotten in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's seen a lot of growth, just like every livable city. For me, it's a really cool art town. It's got a huge film industry, a huge film presence, and so because of that, it's also got a huge fashion and design and performing arts, and you can work as a set designer or many different opportunities to work in that industry. It's almost like a small New York. If I was coming up as a younger person, I wanted to work in the art world as a fashion photographer or whatever, and I didn't want to live in New York, I didn't want to live in LA, I didn't want to live in Chicago. If I wanted somewhere with better weather but still a lot of opportunities, Atlanta is a great small creative city. Midtown has seen a huge revitalization. I loved it. And which is kind of course I wasn't moving there, as a Coloradoan, I would be miserable there because it does rain a lot and it's humid and hot, and personally, I'm just addicted to the weather of Colorado because I like to be outside.
Totally.
But besides the humidity and some what I would consider marginal weather, I loved it. A lot of beautiful days, beautiful green spaces. Like you mentioned, the Greenbelt is a really cool example of urban revitalization, where you can ride your bike or walk or ride your skateboard for miles, and it's people watching and little shops and bars and stuff. Very upscale, but it has urban grit with still just a lot of opportunity to be a working professional. Great. I would love to be there as a young person.
Cool. I looked up some facts, and I want to run them by you, and you tell me if any of this was into your experience while you were living there. Atlanta was actually burned to the ground during the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
Completely. In 1864, Union troops destroyed much of the city. So Atlanta's identity as a city that rebuilds and reinvents itself comes directly from this event. I don't know if you heard about that.
Mm-hmm.
And it used to be called, and I think you mentioning the movies, because I think Walking Dead was filmed down there.
Okay.
And the original name of Atlanta was Terminus, which I believe was a location in the Walking Dead show, for those of you that watched that. Then it was called Marthasville before coming Atlanta. Obviously, birthplace of Martin Luther King Jr.,
Hmm.
so a lot of civil rights stuff down there. And I didn't know this, but Atlanta is one of the most forested major cities in the U.S. Nearly half of the city is covered by tree canopy, which is why it feels greener and more humid than most big cities.
That's really interesting. I would definitely concur with that from a observational standpoint.
Just
Yeah.
walking through the metropolitan area, you felt it was very
And
natural.
I found like some really cool like natural areas to get away to when I was down there, which was important for me.
Was it hilly? It says here that it's
It's-
surprisingly hilly.
Yeah, it's quite hilly. Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought that. I would have thought it was just like flat.
Yeah, no.
Hmm.
I had a bike down there and I rode a lot of scooters around everywhere. I definitely got out and explored.
To your point, the green belt is that what it's called? Was that what it's called, or the
Is
belt
it,
line?
Is it the belt?
Belt line.
Yeah.
The belt line.
Beltline Greenway Trail or something? Yeah.
It's a former rail corridor. It's become a loop of trails, parks, and food halls in the art. It's
Yeah.
one of the best ways to experience Atlanta on foot or bike.
Yeah, it's a real scene, and they have their own PR agency now. I just got a press release. So.
The Beltline does?
Yeah, I've never heard of a trail having its own PR group.
I'll
so.
have to sign up for that one. There are 70 streets with the name Peachtree in it. Did you see any Peachtree?
Oh yeah,
Really?
oh yeah. It's
Is that confusing?
I didn't get confused. I didn't have a car,
Oh, okay.
which
so
I
you're
thought was
cruising
great. Yeah.
around. Major film movies, Marvel movies, Walking Dead, Stranger Things. Global hip hop capital. Yeah.
Yeah,
Outkast.
Streetwear
Yeah.
also.
Ludacris,
which is really cool.
Outkast, T.I. Big influence.
Yeah.
And then the airport.
The airport it's a great airport. It's a
Busiest in the
major
world.
airport. Okay, I think that I heard that. DIA is like what, 5th now or something? Like these are growing airports, but I did hear that Atlanta was the busiest airport in the world. It's a big airport. It's always been a mess. It's always been a big airport because as you know, like we travel through there a lot to get other places. The other thing that I did in Atlanta that I loved was the Porsche experience. So it's a Porsche Experience Center. And they also have like corporate offices there and do other things like restorations. They have a museum and they have a track. And so they have this racetrack that incorporates elements of every famous racetrack from around the world. You know, so like these Formula One tracks in like Nuremberg or wherever they are in Europe, like have these signature like corners or banks or hills that make them kind of unique or cool. And so this racetrack, this experience track, incorporates elements from all of these other tracks around the world.
And you can drive?
You can, well, yeah, you pay to drive, yeah.
Wow.
I went there and did like a media visit, of course, you know, and I brought one of my friends that I met from SCAD to come and photograph it and did a story about it. But yeah, it was really cool.
And you lived down there for 3 months just
Mhm.
this past year?
Yep.
Okay. How do you work that with family life?
I came home once to visit them, and basically I just have a really kind of understanding wife who supports my endeavors as I do hers, and so yeah, it was hard. I mean, my kids miss me and I miss my kids, but it was sort of just a once in a lifetime opportunity that they weren't going to let me pass by, you know.
Yeah. Asking for a friend, of course, because you're a travel journalist or outdoor journalist, you're on the road a lot. Has that been difficult to continue your career because you had children later in life?
Yeah.
You know, your children are young now.
Right.
So you had a career where you're on the go, but it seems like you're still on the go quite a bit. Is that just about selecting the right partner? Is it about like how do you do that?
Yeah. I would say it's hard. It's not for everyone, but luckily I kind of had the precedent established that I was going to be going on, and I try to keep it reeled in. I try to do like one trip a month. And then I try to do trips that I can bring my family on. So for every trip I'm doing like this, where I'm in Utah skiing with my buddy and like kind of on a wild adventure, I might have a lesser wild but still cool adventure that I do with my kids. And oftentimes people are wanting to host me and my family because that also makes a great story. They know that it's like a benefit to me to be able to bring my family. And so my kids have probably stayed in more hotels than most adults, and they're only, 8 and 6. So, but it's hard. I definitely say no to a lot of stuff, and I have to be a little pickier.
Yeah, it's probably just one of the hardest careers to manage with a family, I would think.
Well, and it's not the highest paying career
that's
either.
My next breath,
so,
because it's not like, oh, honey, I'm traveling for work, but I'm making $40 million, so don't worry,
right.
The housekeeper's on the way.
Yeah,
it's
not like that. It's more like now you're the housekeeper and the nanny.
Yeah.
And the clean, yeah.
Yes.
So it's a lot.
Yeah, you're
Luckily, Jasmine is just very independent and hardworking and loves kind of being in control anyway. So I'm like, well, you got this, you know.
you're fascinating to me and guys like you, because when I came into the industry in 2010, the internet had already fully arrived. So rates were already adjusted and down. You know, back in the day, people like you who wrote in the 90s, $5 a word, $4 a word, 3,000 word stories,
Right.
big features. You're going on a trip to tell a story of an adventure. Now what we do is we're collecting data and punchlines, and we're trying to round it up, or maybe occasionally we get 1,000-word story somewhere.
Yeah.
And the rates have just plummeted. So how did you – sounds like you bounced around a lot, but you've always had this writing as a part of your life.
Yeah.
You think you just really have to love it, because
Yeah.
most people are surprised if they're like, oh, my God, you were in CNN, you're in Nat Geo. Like, they think this – you've kind of reached
That
the
you've made
pinnacle.
it. Uh-huh.
Well, you have in a way. Like,
Yeah.
I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean like, oh, yeah, like I'm – you know, a
Sitting
newscaster on
around
CNN
smoking
Yeah.
$12 cigars or whatever. Yeah.
You know, it's like it's really, you don't really have time to enjoy it, because it's like, cool, I made, you know,
It's
couple
a
hundred,
hustle.
yeah, and now
It's
you're,
a
you're
major
on to the
hustle.
next, on to the next.
I'm
yeah.
always filling my pipeline. I'm taking on other projects. Over the years, I've had to do other work like copywriting. You know, I've worked with brands. I've worked with agencies. Like, I've definitely had to supplement my journalistic career.
Yeah, that's been guiding for me. But the way I explain it to people, without because getting into all the financial explanation, is just say, I rarely pay my rent or now mortgage with one story. That's rare these days. Whereas in the 90s, you could do one story and probably pay your expenses for a month or two.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you find that to
Yeah,
be?
and I mean, like you said, man, having kids changed everything, because, you know, we could be, I think my friend Frederick Reimers called it a $50,000 millionaire, you know, where like you're making like a very, you know, middle class wage, but you're living like a millionaire. You know, like that's one of the cool things about being a journalist, is like you're interacting with some really high level people. You're almost like a quasi celebrity, you know, like you might be the lowest paid guy in the room, but you're still having a blast, you know, and people look up to you, and they don't quite understand what you do, especially when you work in the ski industry. And so it's just been a really fulfilling career. Like, I am very rich in lifestyle, and that was what it chose me. I chose it. I don't know. But, you know, again, when I started having two kids and realizing how expensive life is, especially like with the pandemic and the inflation that we've experienced in the last half dozen years, like things have definitely been hard.
Yeah. That's one of the scariest parts of going forward for me, is because of exactly what you said. You're the richest poor man when you're a travel and outdoor journalist, right? You don't make a lot of money, but the perks are great. But introduce a family and kids, and now you have to dial that back, and it's really difficult. You've kind of just sucked all the fun out of it.
I have less time, and
now you're just,
and I need more money. So,
right, and
yeah.
just like you could accept the less money if you're doing the travel,
Sure.
doing the stuff and experiencing it. But then it's like, well, now I can't travel as much, so it's just it's
and the pressure is on. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why there are very few lifers like you. I mean, I'm sure you know that. Like, most people don't have the career that you've had.
Especially in the outdoor industry, like, because you also have to be like physically fit enough to keep at it. So I don't know how writers do it in other industries, but I don't know. I guess, like I said, for me, it's just been a lifelong passion. You know, I also work with the Outdoor Media Summit, so I get to sort of learn and grow with my colleagues, and I've just done a variety of things to keep it rolling, I guess.
All right. Well, let's finish up with what, as a journalist, you know, yourself, where are you looking to go in the world this year, and what stories are you excited about, or is there a place in mind that you're like, I'm definitely, you know, trying to get there this year?
That's a good question. I mean, that was kind of what ski season was for me. I really wanted to go back to France. And so I made that one happen earlier this year. I did this trip to Utah, which I just have to come to Utah every year. Like, I love coming here and skiing in Utah, and reconnecting with friends and seeing these wild places. And then I'm going to Idaho to do some skiing, another one of my favorite states.
I've never skied in Idaho.
And but you know how gorgeous it is,
It's
like
gorgeous,
winter or
yeah.
summer. Like, it's just so sick, whether I'm fishing or whatever there. I love going to Idaho. So I've had kind of a busy winter, spring planned. I like to go to tropical places as well, being a landlocked guy, you know. I hope to do a couple yoga retreats this year and go down maybe El Salvador,
Maybe that should be our business idea.
Costa Rica,
Yoga
Mexico,
retreats.
yeah.
Those are flying.
They are profitable. There's a lot of competition in the space, but
Totally.
I think there's probably still room for opportunity there.
You just got your 200-hour.
Yep, I just did my Yoda certification past year. So I had a busy year doing a variety of projects. So
Love it, man. Well, thanks for taking some time to chat, dude.
It's
It was
been
fun.
great.
Ready
Yeah.
for dinner?
Appreciate it. Very ready. Yeah.
Let's do it. Cool.
All right. Thanks, Will.
Yes, now I'm riding the terrain, flying high up once again. Got my crew sitting healthy and my boo living wealthy. Level 99, never settle in my mind. So I pedal and I climb up the pedestal and find almighty weapon. So I calm lightly step into the castle. Satchel, tackled, wrestled down the corridor where I'm grounded through the floor. Roundhouse into my core, down, out, and through the door. Sword down at my side, I gotta round up and ride. Face boss, break jaws till I take off. Face off, stop and swing my serious strike. This is it, take the title, disappear in the night. To the whole wide world. Got the keys to the kingdom overseas with the wisdom guarantee that my rhythm hit the whole wide world. Slay the boss in the castle when we cross final battle. Then I walk out and travel to the whole wide world. Got the keys to the kingdom overseas with the wisdom guarantee that my rhythm hit the whole wide world. Slay the